Kia ora, bros and girls, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take Act 6 Chapter 2 Ultron. This is a very annoying boss, and we're going to talk about how to beat him, what his nodes are, and so on. And we're going to be releasing one of these kind of every day on how to take on all of the Act 6 bosses and maybe how to solo them as well. So whether you're going for completion or exploration, you might find the stuff useful. So be sure to follow, like and subscribe to follow the other guys as well. So let's talk about this Ultron. Now we know his base ability is basically he's got a natural evade built in, and also he's got a poison on his attacks, so you ideally want a poison immune champ. He's got some annoying nodes as well, so let's start off with the global. The global node is special delivery, which means that every time you hit into him, you start kind of for like 15 charges, and every 15 charges you have to throw a special or you take some damage over time. He also has aggression armor, so you kind of so his armor kind of stacks and you do less and less damage the less aggressive you play. And then the third thing is he's got Spry, which basically means whenever he naturally evades, he drops a fatigue debuff on you. He triggers that, and that reduces your crit rating and basically your attack by a whole lot for a while. And then on top of that as well, he's got EMP Modifications, which is really annoying node because pretty much it means every time you get a buff, which is whenever you're dexing a special or whenever you're dexing an attack. So whenever you evade, he gains a overclock charge or clock charge, and once that hits to 10, that gets converted into shocks and goes right back at you. So that kind of narrows the counters quite a bit to people that can either absorb energy or that energy helps them, or to people that are shock immune. But then also on top of all that, he also has spite, which means that yeah, basically he's got a lot of power gain every time you trigger a buff as well. So he can be really annoying, and there's very few counters that work really well against him. Obviously Medusa is a great counter if you have her. You get the armor shatter off, you shut down completely his power gain and all those abilities, and then you just go into town. I don't have Medusa as a 5-star. There are some other options, but they feel short. Like I think the first time I used Thing, and with Thing and the synergy, you could probably get through this guy within a couple of revives. But it's really do as much damage as you can until he gets to his SP3, because he will get to his SP3. You can't use too many power controllers. Maybe an Awakened Magic might work with Limbo, depending on your RNG, but you can't really use too much power control here because there's so much other stuff going on. So I found probably the best two in my mind would be Medusa, if you can shut him down really quickly, and Nebula. And I think Doom as well would be a really good option, but I found Nebula is probably the best for me, best chance to give me a one-shot. And if you pop her as a 6-star and she's lying around, you can go ahead like this and kind of take a very deep run at him without having to spend too much resources on pots and revives. So the strategy with Medusa is quite simple, and if you put her with Proxima, you're going to achieve this a lot quicker. It's going to be a lot of an easier fight. But the idea with Nebula, sorry, not Medusa, is basically you want to get to your 5 electrostatic charges, and that shuts down most of his abilities. So it shuts down his evade, it shuts down Spry, it shuts down his spite. All of that stuff. The one thing that doesn't shut down is the global special delivery node. So still every 15 hits, you're going to have to kind of like throw that special. And also be aware that when you drop him down to under 50, just like we did then, because we have shut down his ability accuracy, normally when he drops below 50, because he's got backup recovery, he's going to gain a burst of power. But if that's shut down, he instead gains 25% health. So as soon as he gets down to 50, and you can't shut that down, as soon as he gets down to 50, he's going to go back up. Now, I tried to go in there and kind of speed things up a little bit by dropping in my 20 shock stacks and throwing the SP2, because that does do a lot of damage, but you're going to need to do that twice to fully kill him. The danger of that, though, is obviously you have to build those electrostatic charges back up. So because this fight was going quite long, I got a little bit bored and did that. But it's probably better if you can to just keep everything shut down and keep going at him, because then basically he's just a normal arena Ultron. You evade the SP1, you hit, you evade the SP1, you hit, and then the only kind of like real addition to all of this is just cycling through a special delivery, so you're not taking any particular damage. But I think I end up getting clipped very soon, because it's a long fight and you're doing kind of the same things all the time, and yeah, so you're quite prone to make mistakes. But this was my closest try for a one shot. I think with a little bit more skill, a little bit more patience, definitely you're able to do it with a 6-star Nebula. As you can see there, I come at him and he just kind of lights me out of nowhere, so that was pretty good. But well, that was pretty good for him, pretty bad for me. But I come in here and finish him off with Doom. Now with Doom, it's not bad, but it's a little bit tricky because I've got willpower, so I don't actually mind that fatigue debuff. That's fine. And with Doom, you also have like a power steal on the SP1, and it can go unblockable if you've got the Aura of Hadrus on. So that kind of helps a little bit with the spite, and you're immune to shock. So Doom solves a lot of the problems. The problem is you don't really shut down the evade, and sometimes if he evades you at the incorrect, at a bad time, or for example, you throw a special and it misses, you throw your SP1 when he's at 3 bars of power to steal his power, and somehow he evades it, then you're left in a really bad place. I'm lucky though that I only really had 25% to go, and this Doom is very buff, is very maxed out, so I was able to finish him off with Doom. So this is 2 fights, no revives, no pots. It's like a solo, but yeah, in theory you should be able to finish this with just Nebula, or if you have Medusa, obviously it's a better option to go. So hopefully this helped you out, guys. If it did, like, subscribe and follow for more Act 6 content and for more Act 6 bosses and solo guides. Ka kite anō, bros and girls. We'll see you in the next one.